Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining my channel, Fish Den 365. I'm Den Haring, and in a moment, I'm going to take you on a tour of all the tackle in here. So my purpose for doing this tour isn't to show off the tackle that I have. I'm very thankful that I have it. It's perfect for me. Is it the largest tackle collection in the world? Certainly not even close. But I am proud of it, and that I have this amount of tackle, and that I was able to build this up over the years. But that's not really what I want to show you. What I want to show you is how I use this room, this building, this shed is really what it is, to organize a fishing trip, to organize my tackle for a fishing trip. The whole purpose of all of the baits that you see on the wall, there's baits along this whole wall behind me, there's baits over on the wall there's baits over there's baits behind the camera. We're going to show you all of it. The whole purpose of all of those baits on the wall is for them to find their way into this tackle box, or if it's a soft bait, this tackle bag. Hard baits in the tackle box, soft baits in the tackle bag. Because this is what I take fishing with me. I have it down to this. Now, I do cheat. I have, and I'll show you these as well. In either one of my boats, I have compartments that hold some other containers of tackle, the old plain old 3700 boxes. I have, I'll say, four to several of those, depending on if it's my little boat, it's 4. If it's my bigger boat, I can fit quite a bit more. And so, depending on where I'm fishing, I'll have those things with me as well. But the purpose is to narrow everything down, and that's all based on where I'm going to fish, when I'm going to fish it, and what the conditions are when I intend to be there. You know, there was a time where I used to take so much tackle with me. I liked tournament fishing, the local tournaments. I still enjoy doing that. I don't do it as much as I'd like to, because it's hard for me to have the time to do it with work and my family and health situation in life. But I do intend to fish some more coming down the pike, and I'm looking forward to that. And I've gotten better by narrowing this down. I used to have this gigantic tackle bag. I mean, it was huge. And I would put all these lures in there. It had 3,700 plain old boxes. I forget how many it fit. I mean, this thing was really large, to the point where my spine is curved today, and it's probably because I used to lug that tackle bag around seriously when I'm taking that thing into my boat and out of my boat, because I felt I had to have it, and I began to realize that it was actually making my fishing, at least my competitive fishing, worse. It caused more disorganization. I wasn't sure where any one thing was. It caused some confusion, and then I had maybe too many choices to think about when I was out in my boat. And so what I'm going to talk about today, it's not just about tournament fishing either. This can simplify any trip that you make, because as anglers we have this tendency to think, especially with bass fishing, because there's so many ways to catch a bass, we have this tendency to think, oh, you got to have all these different areas of baits covered when you're out there, because you never know what conditions you're going to face with. Well, the truth is, you can have a pretty good idea of knowing what the conditions are. You know where you're going to be going fishing. You know if the water's clear, stained, or muddy in most cases. And so you can start to narrow down what you need. And what I found was, when I started to narrow that down, when I got rid of that big bag and narrowed it down to one tackle box and one bag with a few other boxes, I became a much better fisherman. I caught a lot more fish because my boat was much more organized. I just didn't have to be concerned about managing and organizing all the other tackle, and figuring out what I had and trying to find things was harder too, because there was just more to go through to find what I was looking for. So better preparation up front, thinking about the lake, thinking about the time of year, thinking about what phase the bass are in, and knowing that, and then focusing my attention on, well, what sections of the lake am I going to fish? What time of year is it? Is it post-spawn? Is it pre-spawn? And then picking those baits out, just enough baits to fit in these two boxes. it just made me a better angler. Now I can focus on, okay, I know what I'm doing, I know why I'm doing it, and I have my rods set up. You know, I might have 8 to 10 to 12 rods on the boat if I'm fishing a tournament. You know, and if I'm really prepared, if I practiced, if I had enough time to practice, I might have it down to 4 rods by the time I'm fishing a tournament, because I know what's happening at that point, and I don't need much more than that. So it just depends on how prepared I feel that I am before I fish. But this is true for any general fishing trip as well. If you can narrow down these baits and your techniques before you even go, well, then you could really focus in on the things that you want to do, and you can find fish and catch them more effectively that way. That's been my experience, and that's what I want to share with you here in this video today. So we will start by opening this box and explaining what's in here at the moment, and then we'll actually, this is the last part of this, right? This is the last part of that equation. Before I go on to a trip, this is what I'm filling, this is what I'm filling, and then I go. So we'll start at the end and then work our way backwards, and you'll see how I manage and organize my tackle. And I hope it makes sense to you, and if it's something that you struggle with, or if you maybe haven't thought about it very much before, I'm hoping that it will encourage you to do something similar if you find it helpful. So this is the tackle box, and on this side I have some drop shot hooks, some various hooks for Texas rigs, and a bunch of Texas rig weights here of different sizes, quarter, 3/4, half ounce. And then on this side I've got a little box of drop shot weights. I've got some other drop shot weights here, and I have some miscellaneous items in this thing. A couple of spinnerbait blades, some of these owner twist lock devices, some swivels, and some hooks. Alright, and then I'll usually prepare this tackle box each trip. Let me just open this up so you can see what we got here. So if we start with the top tray, got some jigs here, different jigs, got some Huddleston baits in here. These are all skirts of different sizes and shapes in case I need to make up some jigs. Got a little spoon here, a river to sea S-waver, got a little top water there. We got a lipless crankbait and another crankbait. And then in the second tray you can see I have some various jerk baits, some crankbaits here, some lipless crankbaits, some more jerk baits along here. Got a spy bait in there with another jerk bait. I like this one this time of year. Got some smaller jerk baits right here. Various baits, and down below we've got another spy bait, a couple more spy baits in here, jerk baits. Then we got some bladed jigs and some various jigs in here, deep diving crank, and then some various different lures in here, including a blue striper. This is just what I had set up from fall and some of the wintertime fishing I was doing. Some of these baits I was using in fall, and I just never pulled them out of the box. And I have a number of items in the bottom. Got some pliers and things like that. Got a number of different kinds of swim baits. Some of them are fairly large, like this guy here. Good striper lure, good bass lure. A bunch of the Kitex here, the Swing Impact Fats. I have some jigs made up here. This one is with a Hazardong shad. Some fishing line, my license, some snaps, some different things in the bottom of the box here. But the wall is what feeds this box. And so everything in the box is ready to fish. The hooks are sharp. The hooks are the kind of hooks that I want. Like in this one, you'll see the EWG Gamakatsu type hooks. They're all ready to go. And the way I set this up is that what we have on the wall back here is what feeds this box. So the next time I go fishing, because we're getting in the spring now, it's late March, April's going to be here very soon, So what I'll be doing tomorrow at some point is emptying this box completely, and then thinking about where I'm going to be fishing next, and then just setting up the box for this time of year, for spring, about what I'll be fishing. And in my compartment here I have more items that are just stay in the boat with me. One of them is a box of various Senko and Senko style baits. I can change these out based on the conditions that I'm fishing, because on the wall over there I have a ton of more Senko and Senko style baits. But I don't really prefer to fish Senkos. I don't prefer to fish them, but you have to have Senkos. They're just an amazing bait. They just catch fish, very effective. Here's a box of flukes. I look at the fluke similar to the Senko. They're just an amazing bait. They catch fish in so many various conditions, and so I have a number of different colors and sizes of flukes and fluke style baits here. Here's some real small finessey type stuff, and then I have some of the larger ones here as well. These are an interesting one. This is a Yum Houdini shad. Really nice fluke style soft swim bait, or soft jerk bait I should say. Then here I just have a couple of baits that are rigged up and ready to go. They're mostly swim baits and or small jigs, like this little, here's a little man's stingray grub that I like quite a bit. So these are just always kind of ready to go in this box. Looks like I got them a little bit out of kilter here, so fix those up a little bit while I'm here. Okay. Here's my blade bait box. It's small, but boy, it holds a lot of blade baits. There's just a ton of blade baits in here, and spoons. Different spoons and different various blade baits. All ready to go. And then, depending on what I'm doing, I might have a box full of hooks of various types. Right now, because I'm not fishing a lot of Texas rigs, being winter time, I've got a number of different various jig heads in here of all different shapes and sizes, as you can see. And we got some football head jigs, some dirty jig heads here, some guppy heads back in here, all different various jig heads, some Ned head rig, some Ned rig heads. So that's what we have in this compartment right here. So we'll start my tour of the hard bait right here. Starts with a number of top waters. You can see I've got some storm chug bugs there. Down here we've got some different baits, a vixen or two, some sexy dogs from Strike King, some Bagley baits there. We go down here, we've got some really nice pop R's along with the head and torpedoes. My favorite top waters of all time right in front of you there, the Norman Top Dollar, and some different poppers here. Down below we've got a bunch of different types of whopper plopper type baits. And then we go back up here, we got some Sammies. All these are walk the dog baits. There's some really nice finger mullets, some different walk the dog baits, some small Sammies here. And then some prop baits, some bigger poppers. Here we got more prop baits, some unusual top waters here, a Bill Lewis top water. And then we got a bunch of Zara spooks going back up there, and some other specialty baits. Then we have a number of different lipless crankbaits from Bill Lewis rattle traps. We've got a number of Rapala rip and wraps. We've got some cotton cordell baits in here, the cotton cordell spot. We've got the Strike King red eye shad. A number of different companies' lipless crankbaits all throughout here. And then we have a couple of Bagley baits here, a couple of different specialty crankbaits right there. A coming up here, we got a few different little baits. There's a special top water with a jitterbug lip on it that I bought at a show and never found another one since. It's a soft plastic lure with a jitterbug lip. It's pretty cool. And then down here through the center, I have some deep diving, some medium and deep diving crankbaits, mostly Norman's DD22s. Here's a bunch of fat-free shads that I've got that are pretty cool. Got some minnow type baits here, some Rebels, and some jointed red fins. There's the best striper lure ever made, or one of them anyway, the Cordell Redfin. Some no-name crankbaits. So then we got some bombers there. And up here we have the DT16s, a bunch of DT16s and DT20s from Rapala. Some various baits here from Rapala and Berkeley. Down in this section we've got some bandits, some Normans, a bunch of different baits. Here's some other baits here. Got some blue stripers there along there. There's some wake baits from Rapala there and some jerk baits. And then up here we have another really good striper lure at some of the where the bait fish is smaller, the Ripple and Redfin. Those two snakes that you see are from Savage Gear. So those are some Savage Gear snakes. I did a video on one of those last year. Got some soft type baits here. Then I get into some really small jerk baits. I use these for trout, but they'll also work for smallmouths and different fish like that in different circumstances. Good trout baits too. Then we get into some of the Bagleys and AC Shiners right here. And we've got some cotton Cordell baits in here mixed in with some other things like this Rapala here. Again, most of these are all different jerk baits. Some good ones there. Lucky Craft here, more Rapalas here. Got a couple of old style spy baits that my dad made here. These things catch fish. And I've got some little glide baits, that kind of thing there. More here. All these are jerk baits as we go down here. Here we got some deeper diving jerk baits. You can see the bigger lips on them. Bunch of Bagley small fry baits here that I really like. These are good baits. And then some more here. Here we got some glide baits of different sizes and types, and some different wake baits in here. A bunch of big shad here. These are Bagley shad baits. I like them, the monster shads. Bunch of DT, I think these are DT7s if I remember right, yeah, these are the Rapala square bill type baits, and they're meant to go to 7 foot or so. Got some bunch of Storm fin fins here. I like this bait. It's an unusual bait, has a different action to it. Some different spoons here. And then you can never have enough deep diving crankbaits. I have a bunch of more deep diving crankbaits all throughout here. A ton of them. Then I get into some shallower divers in here. I got a ton of square bills here. These are all square bills up in here. Square bills, more square bills. Some different types, some specialty crankbaits down along here. Down here I got these Rapala. These are really good cold water crankbaits that Rapala's made for many years. And then as we go a little further over, I have some various buzz baits. I don't have a lot. I don't fish a lot of different buzz baits. I have my favorites. I really like the Cavatron style buzz baits. I have some that are put away as well. I got some leftover crankbaits here, some more square bills, and then I get into some of the spinner baits down here, some different various shapes and size spinner baits, a couple of spoons over there. Somewhere along here I also have, they might be in my box at the moment, a number of bladed jigs, otherwise known as chatterbaits. So that's the wall of hard baits that feed my tackle box. So I also have more tackle in here. I'm not going to go through all this, but I will show you what I have in some of these bins because it backs up a lot of what's on the wall as well. So in here, this is a bin that's just full of Nichols pulsator spinnerbaits, which is one of my favorite spinnerbaits. 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, all different shapes and sizes, or all different sizes.
Down here is a bin full of Cavatron buzzbaits, my favorite buzzbait, which backs up what's on the wall as well. This bin has a bunch of blue striper lures from Cordell, as well as some stone jigs from Mans. Both these lures are difficult to obtain these days. And then this bin here, I've got some Bagley lures, some original lures that are collector's items, but I also have a bunch of the Norman top dollars in here as well.
So then down here, all those baits that you saw up on the wall are ready to go. They're ready to fish. They're ready to put in the box and ready to fish. But I also have a bunch of baits that feed that wall, so that if I lose something that's on the wall, I can just take it out of this box, put the proper hooks on it, test it, make sure it works, put it on the wall, and I'm good to go. And that's what these baits are for. They're all backup baits. So I'm going to go and we'll go and show you what's in these boxes right now.
Let's show you what we have in here. So here's a new box that's got a large glide bait in it, a bluegill or crappie shaped glide bait. This box is just starting to get filled. Then this box has a number of stone jigs in it. These are jigs that come from Mans Bait Company. They're difficult to get these days, but I think you can still order them from Mans directly. I like them. I like them because they have a triangular shaped head that tends to come through everything pretty well. Comes through rocks, comes through wood, comes through weeds well too. So it's a good all-around, all-terrain jig. Here we've got all of my slop baits. So let's see here, I've got my frogs, my mouse lures, all different types of these topwater slop baits that I like to fish. This is another jig box. It's got various jigs in it of all sorts, shapes and sizes, and just a lot of skirts and a lot of jigs. Some weed jigs in here, as well as some jigs that are meant for wood and rock. This next box is another jig box of all of a different kind of jig that I used to use quite a bit, called a weed sneak jig. Actually, it's various jigs. There's some weed sneaks in here. These are meant to be fished in weeds. They actually have a nose cone that goes over the eye of the hook. It helps to make it weedless. Used to use them quite a bit back in the day. I got a lot of them, but I also have some dirty jigs here and some other types as well. Hair jigs over in the corner right there. A couple more stone jigs in this box. Some room to grow, some of the boxes. This one I have as collectible baits, so I don't really mean to fish these. These are more baits that I have as collector items. There's a glow-in-the-dark jitterbug here, some various head baits that are a little harder to come by. The next two boxes here are just various jig skirts. All kinds of skirts in these boxes. Same thing with this. Different color and arrangements of jig skirts. I even have some flies and some trout lures in here as well. Some of these I'll sometimes drop shot. Here's another box that has more of the collectible type lures in. There's a bunch of lures in here known as a mirror lure, a couple of old Bagley baits, again some head-and lures as well. Empty box here, and then I have some specialized swim baits in this box. So these are meant to be fished along the bottom. Here's some sunfish pattern baits, some little bluegills. I think Savage Gear makes these as well. Bigger baits here. Some specialized swim baits that I just have in this particular box. Let's go around the other side. We'll show you what's in there. Alright, let's take a look at the other side of this cabinet with all of my baits out here. So this one is a bunch of shad-shaped crankbaits primarily. They have a little bit of a deeper belly to them. A lot of flat sides are in here. Got some pose baits in here. Got some good ones. Here's an old natural Ike. A couple of natural Ikes. Here's a really nice bluegill pattern. Some Bagleys here as well. A lot of good crankbaits in here. Just waiting to get hooked up and used sometime. I think this one's a CC shad. Got several of those. They're good baits. They catch fish. Got some monster shads there. A little bit of everything. Got some Rapalas in here. So this is a nice shad-shaped crankbait box. And then the next one I have. The next box is medium diving crankbaits. You see, I got a ton of medium divers here. A bunch of Norman deep little ends in here. Here's a bomber. I got some interesting ones here too. These are they still have the hooks on them. These are head and river runs. These are old baits. They got a metal lip on them, but they have a real wide action to them, and they catch fish. They're actually a pretty good bait. We've got some DT Rapala DT series in there. Some more Normans. Here's an old Rebel deep diving crank. Some good ones here. Some crayfish baits in here, the Rebel crayfish and some other companies. So those are my medium divers. And then we got a box full of our deep divers here. So we got a bunch of Norman DD22s. Got some DT16s from the Rapala. We got a couple of this one here is a Strike King bait. Here's an old Berkeley Frenzy deep diver. Some different ones in here. And then the next box are square bills primarily. So here's a Norman square bill, I believe. Nice red one there. Here's a live target square bill. All different brands. Here's a man's bait. A couple of Lucky Crafts in here. And then a bunch of Strike King square bills as well. Even got some big O's in here too, or the O style crankbaits. We got lipless crankbaits next. So got these are some no frills type ones from Jan's Netcraft. Then we have some rattle traps in here. This one I like a lot. Smoky Joe color. 3/4 ounce. I catch a lot of fish on that one. Then we got some Rapala Rippin' Wraps. I like those a lot, especially for jigging. We got some Cordell spots in here, and then we have some of the red eye shads from Strike King. And then we've got a bunch of these Cordell different shape baits here. I'm trying to remember what these things were called. These are rattle spot minnows. Different shape, but they're good to use. They catch fish. And the next box are my backup blade bait. Let's see, we got some Demikis in here. A number of different brands and sizes and shapes. Some spoons as well. These are nice. These are Jan's Netcraft spoons. Come in different sizes. And I really like these. They catch fish. They have a good action to them. Real thin, but they have good action. We've got some of the Bass Pro Shops laser blades over here. A little bit of everything. And then I like these dust spoons. This is my favorite spoon. I love the shape of those. It's a really good bait. And then we have a bunch of boxes with, well, we have a box here with minnow baits, and then we got some topwaters and then some more minnows. So here's a bunch of minnow baits. These are all bomber in here, bomber long A's. I like these with the prismatic sides to them. They're good at night. And bomber long A is a good lure. And here's a smaller bomber long A. That's another nice one. And we have some Lucky Crabs in here. So we have the professional rogues, the old rogue baits. Got a bunch of Storm Thunder Sticks. They're a really well-known bait. Over here, I got some really cool baits. These are Bagley Small Fry series. I love this small fries perch. This thing catches fish. A rainbow trout, different patterns. Here's a small fry walleye, I think. Good river baits, too. And then here we got some of the Cordell Swimming Images in various colors. Nice box there. And then we go to some top waters. This looks like my spook box. So you can see I got various Zara spooks in here of all different colors and shapes and sizes. This friend of mine made these poppers here of different sizes and shapes. I really like the color. Great alewife pattern. Made by Alan Carl. Thanks, Alan. These are great baits. Got some Swimming Images here of different colors. Couple of Vixens here. This one here is a mega bait lure, not mega bass, mega bait. They have a really nice topwater. This dog walking bait I really like. Caught a lot of fish on it over the years. Here's a large badonkadonk from Bomber. And then we got some poppers in here. We got some super pop R's, some smaller poppers, a couple of clears there, spooks on the corner there. We got another topwater box here. You can see why we are able to do so many Topwater Tuesday boxes, Topwater Tuesday videos, because we've got a lot of these boxes. Here's some smaller badonkadonks in here. We got some good ones in here. This is a heading bait, a heading dying flutter. Here's an old one. My dad changed this. The spinners are actually different on this bait, but this is a shad rack. This is a really good topwater bait back in the day. Finger mullet here. A bunch of my favorite baits of all time right here for topwater, which is the Norman Top Dollar. Here's clear nutter shad. That's a fantastic color there. Really natural look to it. A couple jitterbugs in there. And we got another box of topwaters. Let's take a look and see what's in there. Not too many. These are river to sea baits with the big spinners. Some big ones for muskie and striper right here. Some good baits. Got a couple of the different size whopper plopper type baits here and whopper ploppers. And then we got 3 more boxes of minnow baits of different sizes and shapes. Take a look at this one. This one's got a bunch of Rapala baits in it, as well as a couple of these Bagley Bangalores. I like the Bagley Bangalores. They're lively. They have a lively action to them. Here's some other Bagley baits, some mighty minnow Bagleys. So, and then here's some Rapalas in here. This is a box with all Rebel minnows in it. These are, I think, all jointed Rebel minnows. Here's a nice perch color. Really beautiful largemouth bass color here. These are pretty good sized baits, and you know, we used to use these back in the day on the Pocono lakes, the shallow water Tannic lakes, and caught a lot of fish on them. Some of these are not jointed, like this one. They catch fish too. Got a couple of deep divers here as well, and some different sizes, but these things, they catch fish. And if you want to have a good nighttime color, this black one's good. I painted this one black for night fishing. Caught a lot of fish on that over the years. Just need to put some hooks on these baits again. And then my last minnow lure box here, or jerkbait box, is really what it should be called. Got some ripple and red fins in here, all different colors. This is a good color here, Smoky Joe, ripple and red fin. Very good bait right here, especially for night fishing. Got some imitation pointers as well as some real pointers. This is a real pointer here. That's a pretty cool color. I might have to get some hooks on that so we can fish it. Some Rapalas here. We've got some Rogues here, the old Pro Rogues. These are really good baits. Here's some bigger Rogues, good walleye lures. One of the better striper lures of all time here, the Cordell red fin, and then a couple of jointed red fins as well. And that wraps up what we have in these boxes right here. Next, we'll show you what is actually feeding these baits. So then we talked about how those baits backfill everything that's on the wall, and then everything that's in these tackle boxes backfills the baits that are in those bins over there. So these are baits that I've inherited and boxes that I've inherited from my dad. I have a total of something like 22 of them right now. There's more over here. You can see there's some there and some back there as well. And except for one of them, they're filled with baits. They just got a ton of lures and baits in there. Now my dad, he liked to buy lures and paint them and change the lips out on them and change how they work and modify them in all different ways. And he was an expert at getting the lures to work the way he wanted them to work. And so some of these baits are modified, some of them are not, that he just hadn't gotten to them yet. So I have a lot to go through here. And what I do is I'll go through these baits now and then just for fun, and I'll pull out the baits that I'd like to test and check out and see how they work. And I put them in a test box, and then I'll go out and test those out. So I have this. So I go through all those lures that my dad has, and then I put some in here. These are all baits that I want to test, because before I use them, I got to make sure they work the way I want them to. And most of these I know they'll work. It's just a matter of I might have to tune them, that kind of thing. So here's a bunch of baits on the top, and some of these baits you won't find anywhere. Like this one, for example, is a modified bait. This was a topwater lure at one time. My dad put a lip in it, and now you wouldn't believe how this thing works. I mean, it has this really wide swinging work action to it, and when you twitch the rod bait, it does all kinds of crazy things. So a bunch of baits in here. Here's a really nice Bagley Bangalore with the spinner on the tail. Got to test that one out. And I've got another shelf here full of baits that all need to be tested. A bunch of more square bills in here. Square bill, square bill, square bill, square bill. Here's a clear square bill that I'm looking forward to testing and fishing. And here's this one's an interesting bait. A couple here I'll show you real quick. This is a Rapala swimmer. It's a lot like the Magic Swimmer from Patrick Seville, but it's a Rapala version. Really nice paint job, really nice eyes on it. This one is a reaction strike bait. Look at how thick that thing is. But this is meant to be a glide bait. It's not very large, but it is a glide bait that I want to test out and see how it works. And there's a couple jerk baits in there too, so lots of baits to test. Here's some interesting baits. These are Mega Bass, the Mega Bass Trick Darter. Looking forward to trying that one out. That's a good color pattern. Here's another Trick Darter here, chartreuse belly, that lavender top. So these are all baits that I have a local pond that's within walking distance here. I can get to it in a few minutes, or I can just drive there in a couple of minutes, and I can test these baits in a quick period of time and make adjustments to them, and then I'll get them on the wall. I'll put them on the wall when they're ready to go. So the wall grows slowly because I think I put more baits on there in a year's time than I lose. So we're slowly growing that wall of baits. But I have some capacity left. I have more wall board and I have some more wall space that I can utilize. So that's the hard baits. That's how we organize our hard baits. The next video I think I'll show you all of the soft baits that we have, and we'll go through that and how I organize those.
So you just got a tour of most of the hard baits that we have here in the tackle house. I do have a few more on the shelf over there that are work in process. I'm modifying some different old head lures like the head meadow mouse and some arbogast jitterbugs, so that I changed the hardware that hangs the hooks so that the hooks are free floating. It's just a better method of fishing the lure. But overall, you saw just about everything I have with the hard baits here, except for what I have in those 21 tackle boxes or 22 tackle boxes. That's just crazy. That's a video for another day. But you saw the hard baits. I think I'll do a separate video on the soft plastic baits because I have them everywhere too. I have them on the wall back there, 2 more sections of wall here, and then the wall behind me here is all soft plastic. So I'll go over how I have that organized, give you an idea of what the kind of baits I like to fish. There's certainly a whole lot more out there that I don't have, but these are the ones that I've become aware of, and what I have is here because I've caught fish on them. I used to have a lot more soft plastics, but I've gotten rid of some over the years and sold them because I just didn't have the confidence in them. But the ones that remain, I have a lot of confidence in. Well, if you liked the video, please give me the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. When I come back, we'll have another Topwater Tuesday coming up for you shortly. And we'll continue on with this breakdown of the baits that I have with the soft plastics, and then eventually we'll get into some rods and reel, and rods that I have as well, if you're interested. Hope to see you on the water, and as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.